Guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to give her an article titled, I Lied to My Boyfriend About My Past, and It Backfired. And guys, in this article, this is about a woman who is recently divorced, and as it turns out, the reason she is divorced is because she cheated on her husband, who she was with for 2 years. And now that she's divorced, she's back in the market, meets a guy that she really likes, and when he asks her just casually, hey, what happened with your marriage? Instead of being honest with him, she lies through her teeth, and not to mention the fact that when you see what she lies about, makes it even worse. And later on down the road, he finds out and it bites her in the ass. And the reason I chose this, guys, is that you got to understand, for a lot of you guys that are younger that may not quite be aware of this, generally speaking, in life, people that lie and cheat don't change. Okay? There are exceptions. Some people learn their lessons early on and they change, but by and large, absolutely, guys, people don't change. And also, by the way, guys, this isn't just about women, okay? This is also can be for guys as well. Human nature is human nature, and it doesn't make a difference if you're here in the West in the United States, living in Great Britain, living in Australia, living in Japan, Egypt. Human nature is human nature, okay? But we talk about women on this channel, so we're going to focus on this particular situation here. And also, guys, people that cheat, not just lying, but also people that cheat, as the old saying goes, once a cheater, always a cheater. So for you young guys that aren't so aware of this, that are into dating, relationships, and all that, understand this when you're out with women and you start noticing they tell you little lies. Now, we all know there's plenty of lying going on and definitely cheating. But if she actually admits to the fact that, she cheated on her different boyfriends, get out. Get out before your heart gets involved and you get trashed too. Because it is likely, let me put it this way, it is extremely likely that's going to happen to you. And she's certainly going to lie. You don't need that. So just be aware of it. And also, guys, you're going to see another thing, by the way, in this article, another thing women do and be aware of is that when they get caught in something, instead of owning up to their mistake, oftentimes they'll get pissed off, twist things around, and blame you for whatever they did. And you're going to see this as well. So pay attention to that. Okay, guys. So again, the title of the article is, I Lied to My Boyfriend About My Past, and It Backfired. Article starts off saying, I was 28 years old when I met Joel at the gym. At the time, I'd been divorced for less than 2 months, and I told myself I wasn't interested in dating. Women always say that until they meet some guy that really turns them on. Be aware of that, guys. Still, I couldn't help but notice Joel's strong, tattooed shoulders as he practiced his military press. Despite being an older gentleman, he was astonishingly in good shape. For those of you guys that are dating and pickup and all that, keep yourselves in shape. It will help your game. It's not the only thing that's going to get you women, but it'll definitely help get your foot in the door. Being in shape, having some muscles. You don't need to look like Dwayne Johnson, but being in shape will definitely help your game. She says here, while I pedaled on my stationary bike, I couldn't stop looking at him every few seconds. Then he caught my eye in the mirror and smiled. I fell hard. In that instant, I was done. So right there, guys, as an example, he looked at her, gave her a smile, and went back to what he was doing. He showed confidence. Confidence is a major, major deal, if you guys didn't know that already, okay? A lot of guys would see a girl looking at him and just turn their heads because they were shy or embarrassed or whatever. They didn't want her to think that he was checking her out, okay? Be aware of that. Goes on saying, we wound up in a sushi bar that evening, sampling tempura rolls and bonding over fruity sake. I learned Joel was everything I wasn't. Self-assured, successful, unflinchingly honest. I knew I wanted to go to bed with him, spend my weekends with him, and learn all about how to please him. Joel sounds like an alpha male, and this woman, who's obviously feminine, is drawn to his alpha ways. He showed confidence in the gym by just giving her that look and giving her that smile. He probably walked right over to her and asked her out, and now they're on the date. And she can sense this, and he just said there, I want to learn all about how to please him. So guys, work on yourselves, improve yourselves, get your shit together, become more of an alpha. You're going to have this. Sometimes if you play your cards right. Again, those of you that date and do pickup and want to get ass. Says here, in conversation, I already let it slip that I used to be married. We were sharing our second bottle of sake when Joel asked about the circumstances leading up to my divorce. I hesitated because the truth was ugly. I'm not exaggerating when I say the divorce was all my fault. I cheated on my husband the week before my wedding, and I kept it a secret for 2 years. This is such a common thing. The women cheat on the bachelorette party or one little roll in the hay before they get married. It's crazy. Finally, my husband found out the truth through a friend and rightfully kicked me to the curb. I feared disclosing these messy details to Joel and that it wouldn't make a great first impression. So I dodged his question and what I considered a harmless fib. She says, my husband and I grew apart. Oh, how long were you married for? Joel wasn't stupid. He must have read the discomfort in my face. I flushed 2 years. I desperately wanted Joel to like me, but I knew he wasn't falling for my vague story. This guy's not stupid. At that moment, I made a terrible choice. Instead of admitting my mistakes, I blamed my husband to avoid further scrutiny. Well, I didn't want to say this, but my husband met another woman. I lied. Joel's face softened. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's rough. No worries. I forced a smile, searching for a distraction. I gestured at his empty glass. I think it's time for a top-up. More sake? So guys, not only does she lie to this guy's face about what happened, she blames her ex. She cheated on her ex-husband. She screwed up the marriage. But instead of being honest about this, not only does she lie to this guy's face, she blames the ex, said that he cheated on her. What does this say about her character? Right? And you're going to see this as it come back to bite her in the ass. Joel confronted me 3 months later when he found out I'd lied to him on our first date. I'm not sure how he discovered the truth, although I have reason to suspect a friend of mine tipped him off. Girls, can't trust him. He was understandably angry, and as a result, we got into a fight. I've never forgotten the powerful advice he gave me during our argument. Even now, several years later, I still think about the way he called me out on my bullshit. He's quoted as saying, "That's the one thing I can't forgive." Initially, Joel approached me and asked why I lied to him. I'm sorry to say, I became defensive. Instead of acknowledging I've been wrong to mislead him, I try to justify my actions. See, guys? How many times have you guys been in situations where a woman's in the wrong for whatever she did, and instead of just owning up to it, she twists things around to blame either someone else or, more likely, blame you? So be aware of this, guys, the type of fuckery they do, okay? She says, and this is where she starts throwing a fit and yelling at him. She says, "The story behind my divorce is painful and personal!" Exclamation point. Bristling, I folded my arms over my chest. I hadn't known you very long when you asked me about it. And I wanted you to like me, god damn it. What was I supposed to do? Make myself out to be a cheating bitch on our first date? You hear that? Blaming him. He was silent at first, so I continued to whine, hoping I could make him feel at least a little guilty. She knows she's wrong. She knows she lied to him. She knows she kept his secret. She knows that he has every right to ask her about this and be upset, but instead she's twisting it around, and right there she said, I wanted to make him feel a little guilty. See, guys? And she goes on to try to really milk the situation. Haven't you ever done anything bad, Joel? Don't you have regrets? We all make mistakes. Joel's lips pressed into a tight grimace. Sure, I've messed up enough times in my life. I held my breath expectantly. This is from the woman. Then Joel sighed, shook his head, and said the words I still replay in my head to this day. But you looked me dead in the eye and lied to me, Angie. That's the one thing I can't forgive in a partner. You're nowhere near ready for a healthy relationship. My heart sank as I realized the gravity of the situation. See, Joel, and she mentioned earlier in the article, is older than her. He's been around the block. I'm going to say he's probably late 30s, early 40s. You know, my age, and a lot of the ages of the guys here. A lot of you guys, we've been around the block. We've gone through a lot of this bullshit, and so we can now spot it a mile away, even the really good ones. And this guy, obviously, he saw through her bullshit. He wasn't going to take her bullshit. A lot of guys would hear what she just said and would be like, oh, I'm sorry, I understand you're going through a hard time, and she'd have him. And by the way, she would immediately lose respect for him and probably do more bullshit and lie to him more and guarantee to cheat on him, right? But you see, like this, guys, women like this, they don't change. They lie and lie and lie, and of course they cheat. And they'll stir up bullshit if you try to call them on it. So this is why early on, if you guys pick and notice things that don't seem to add up, you got to check them on it. And if you catch them lying or pull something like her, like trying to turn it around and blame you, that's when you get out. You don't need that shit in your life. Seriously. Life is too short. Goes on to say, Joel felt my inability to own my emotional baggage was a bigger issue than the baggage itself. It was the lie I told to maintain a good impression that caused his opinion of me to nosedive. As he continued to chide me, time seemed to slow down. A familiar self-loathing filled me while I was listening to his words. And he says to her, had you told me the truth up front, I'm not guaranteed I would have continued to date you. Yeah, because he's smart and knows that darn well that women that cheat on other boyfriends or husbands are probably eventually at one point going to cheat on him. He knows this. And you guys need to understand that. But I would have had a lot more respect for you than I do at this moment. I would have seen you as a woman willing to learn from her past. And she says, I am willing. I tried to splutter, though I knew how false and pathetic I sounded. She still can't own up to it. No, Joel fixed me with a cold, flat gaze. Your dishonesty suggests you barely even started working on yourself. You blamed your husband instead of owning up to your mistakes. I can't be with someone like that. You're nowhere near ready for a healthy relationship. Good for Joel. She says, my cheeks burned as shame overwhelmed me. Deep down, I knew he was right. See? They all know. They all know when we call them on their shit. But they stir up all this drama and twist it around and put it on us. So you got to be aware of this, guys, okay? For those of you that are less experienced and don't know this. On my next date, I practiced being more honest. It's been a while since Joel and I broke up. Last year, I went on a date with another guy, Adam, whom I met online. Our third date was at a Thai restaurant. This chick definitely likes her Asian food. I ordered a sizzling satay stir-fry, while Adam opted for peanut noodles. A few minutes into our meal, the question I've been dreading came up. So, what led to your divorce, if you don't mind me asking? Adam had disclosed on his dating profile that he, too, was a divorcee. I guess he wanted to bond over divorce stories. But would he be able to handle the truth about my past? I bit my lip as he waited patiently. Once again, I felt the same old temptation to lie, to come up with an answer that would make me seem more likable. But this time, something stopped me. I remember Joel's admonition, you looked me dead in the eye and lied to me, Angie. That's the one thing I can't forgive. I realized that if I continued to run from my past, I'd never be able to grow from it and put it behind me. Instead of covering up my faults, I needed to acknowledge them and show I had morals. So this time, shaking with embarrassment, I told Adam the truth about my history of cheating. I explained how my infidelity led to my divorce. Now she says there, my history of cheating. Now, I'm going to guess that probably her cheating on her husband wasn't the first time, but let's just say it was one time, but you know, as the saying goes, once a cheater, always a cheater. But she says here, my history of cheating. So I wouldn't be surprised in the least if she means that she's obviously done this throughout her life, and of course did it with her husband, and then that ended the marriage. Who knows? He seemed taken aback, but he didn't tell me I was gross or evil, as I feared he would. In fact, he was very polite for the rest of our meal. Although he ultimately declined to go on any more dates, he ended the evening by thanking me for my honesty. It was a relief to know that although my past was a deal breaker for him, he still respected me for telling the truth. For that reason, I felt grateful I'd applied the lesson I'd learned from Joel. Now, I'm not saying it was easy to tell the truth. Getting rejected by Adam wasn't fun. I realized I would have a hard time finding someone who wasn't put off by my past. But at least I was learning to be more sincere. That had to count for something. And she says here, the takeaway, own up to your mistakes. Journalist and author John Cater says, integrity involves looking deep into your heart and reckoning uncompromisingly with what you find there. Until Joel confronted me, I hadn't learned to face my own demons, which is why I insisted on lying about them. At that stage in my life, I still lacked integrity. But after Joel taught me the importance of owning up to my mistakes, I started making better choices. I understood that when you're honest about your mistakes, they stop defining you and people see that. I noticed this with Adam, who didn't like my history of cheating, but still appreciated the fact that I told him the truth. This begs the question, what if my partner rejects me when I open up about my history? I know rejection isn't easy to stomach, but if you want a genuine relationship based on honesty, you have to risk rejection sometimes. What other choice do you have? Do you want to live in fear for the rest of your days, hoping your partner never discovers the skeletons in your closet? Trust me, living with a secret is mentally exhausting. Plus, when Joel eventually found out I lied to him, he dumped me damn fast. I'm sure if I'd lied to Adam, that relationship would have ended in a train wreck down the line too. In short, lying about significant life events isn't good for you, your partner, or your relationship. Instead, be honest about your history. After all, the first step to learning from your mistakes is acknowledging them. Unless you do that, how will you ever grow? So, she gets a second chance after Joel kicked her to the curb for lying. She's out with this other dude. He asks her, and according to her, because this is her telling the story, she told the truth. And according to her, he didn't blow up at her, but he then never went out with her again. And that was the right move. Now, let's just say for argument's sake that she learned her lesson and she's never going to pull this shit again. Eventually, she'll find a guy she'll tell the truth to, and he'll think, hey, I'm different. I can change her. She won't do it with me, and she will get chances with other guys. Okay, that's going to happen. There's plenty of guys out there that will either believe that she'll be different with them because they're naive enough to do that, or they may feel for whatever reason, maybe they themselves have screwed up in life and felt that they should give people other chances because they themselves got other chances. Who knows? But which direction she takes us, who knows? But if she's good looking and has a good body, she can say this and then she'll find guys. It won't be a problem. However, I really have to wonder, after this guy rejected her, will she go back to her old ways? It is very likely she will go back to her old ways because, as I said before, guys, generally speaking, people don't change. That's human nature. Both men and women, doesn't make a difference where you are in the world. And I want you guys to understand this to help you guys along in life, to have a better life and not be deceived and screwed over. So, what happens to her? Who the hell knows? But the lesson is, guys, woman admits to you that she's cheated in the past, move on. Because the odds are, the second you screw up, the second she perceives weakness, you're toast. And she's going to do it to you. You don't need that bullshit. Life is short. Alright guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know your experiences with regards to women that you've caught in little lies, how you handled it, what happens when you didn't handle it, did it get worse? Or let me know. In regards to women that admitted they cheated on in the past on other boyfriends, if you guys let that shit go, and then she did it to you. This information, although you may not want to share or talk about it, will definitely help other guys. Because I know a lot of guys read the comments and it does help them. And guys, be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.